if we want to buy property in Ghana, and people often talk about financing, mortgage, and all that, how let me put it that way, do we often do it in Ghana? And what are the conditions around getting a mortgage in Ghana for any property from any of the developers? And what does Access Bank do?
Thank you very much. I'm surprised people decided to get up when we got to the money part of the...
No, they are here. Yeah, no.
money part of the conversation. I get the sense you all have a lot of it to buy the property outright, which is exciting. But I need to... I think it's very interesting that we are having this conversation. Like, we save the banking part where we are now. Because I could tell when we're having the developers conversation, a lot of people were, can I trust this developer? Are you doing it in the right place? Would there be flood? And all those things. And then we talked about the legal part.
Yeah.
The interesting part is what the bank will do for you. You don't need to worry about all this. Leave it to the bank. When I buy a property for you, I am a co-owner. So what would I ensure? I have to make sure that environmental assessment is done as a bank. I have to make sure that that vendor is credible, trusted, has all the license and everything. So if I'm going to buy a property, you bring Gold Key. If Gold Key has not been assessed by us as a bank, by making sure he's ticked all the boxes, we will not put our money, because at that point we take it as our money in Gold Key's property.
Okay.
The legal aspect, you need to have title to pass it on. We need to make sure that whatever property I'm giving, if it's for 15 years, for the next 15 years, somebody will not get up somewhere and come and say that property is for them.
Okay.
So like the same way when you are doing international trade, buyer, seller, and the bank comes in the middle, letters of credit. It's the same way that the mortgage would do. And especially for you here, you are not in Ghana, so just leave it to the credible, trusted facilitator, which is the bank. And then, even if you have money to buy, just let the bank be the middle, so that the bank will do all these assessments for you, because if it's not done, I will not put my money in it. And I'm an investor. So I will not give you my money to buy a property where in the next 2 years, 3 years, somebody shows up and says it's for me. I will not give you my money to buy a property where in the next 3 or 4 years it's not sustainable, and 2, you can't even pay, because obviously it's in an area, the location is very bad, and as an investment property, you are not going to be able to pay. So that being said, that's why I think this part of the conversation is very, very critical. Now, that's out of the way.
Well, let me ask then, do you refuse granting mortgages to people based on some of these criteria you have outlined?
Oh, yes. So, for instance, if we haven't assessed the vendor, so any vendor here, and I've been having conversation, I need to sign an MOU with you, and we have a vendor due diligence, and that vendor must pass that due diligence before we can give you money to buy from that vendor. So that's number 1. Number 2, the property has to be registered in the state that I can take on that property as collateral. So the basic thing, and I'm not a lawyer, but the basic thing is if you don't have title, you can't pass it on. So all the land requirement, documentation, and everything has to be done. Number 3, the environmental assessment is very, very critical, to the extent that if that vendor has not been paying the property rate and grounds rent, we can refuse the vendor. Because this is something that at the point where they are building, it can get stalled. Anything that a regulator will come and stop you, and because of that, as a bank, maybe my money will get stuck, we'll make sure we take it.
Okay.
So there are vendors that we work with, and the bank does all these assessments just to make sure that we are dealing with a trusted vendor.
So when the bank does the assessment, do they think of insurance on the property as well? And if that is the case, who bears that cost? Is it part of the mortgage cost?
Yes. So the insurance, your life, and then insurance against fire and or its allied. So normally, if you are using your own money, you would think it's not necessary. If you are taking a mortgage, it's mandatory.
Okay, so you do all that on behalf of the client.
We do all that on behalf of the client.
How long does it take to go through that process from start to finish so I can get my property?
Okay, so there are 3 stages. One is doing the assessment, origination side. So basically for diaspora, one, we need to establish your ability to pay. And your ability to pay, for me to be able to do that, you need to show that you have a certain permanent income line. So we do those assessments. Number 2, your ties to Ghana.
Okay.
So that's the second one.
How strong should a tie be? Because, for instance, I've lived in this country for a whole number of years, and my only tie in Ghana might be that property I'm trying to acquire and a few of my relatives. Would that be strong enough a tie for you to agree?
So when we say you have to be a Ghanaian, and either by birth, either your grandparents come from Ghana, either your mother comes from Ghana. So basically, we consider it as you have to be strong. You have to be. I know there will be a question about what if I'm not a Ghanaian, but I want to actually own a property. We have a product we've developed called Heritage. So that's also another angle that we're dealing with. But your ties to Ghana must be established. And the next one is the property you want to buy. Mm-hmm. So either you come, so if you come to our booth, we have a couple of property vendors we've put there as our partners. And now every property owner here, every vendor here will consider that as our partner. So either you come and tell us that this is our vendor, or we will tell you that these people are also our vendors, meaning we have done the due diligence. If we have a vendor that we haven't done the due diligence, we will do the due diligence. And if you are comfortable that they check all the security and all those parts, we will onboard that vendor. If we are not comfortable, we'll tell you we can't buy such a property for you.
Right.
But there is also the part where you own your own property, and now you want to buy another one. So that, we call it equity release. So I take that property, and then that one I give you money, and then you can go and buy any property that you want. Selfishly, at that point, I don't really care what you are going to do because I'm holding the other property as my collateral. But as an advice, because we perform other advisory duties, we will let you know that maybe the location you are going and all the stuff that you are going to do, if you are going to use this as investment, we do not think that you will be able to make that kind of investment that you want. So you should tread cautiously. But provided I'm releasing equity on an already existing property, we are not very stringent on the kind of vendor and the things that you bring on board. And we do both off-plan, you having the land and you want to build, and equity release. Okay.
Now, if you leave me, I'll ask all the questions. So I'll come to you. Any question for a resource person? Any finance question? Still waiting for that. Do you do 100% mortgages, or would have to pay a deposit or something?
We just need to have your skin in the game. So you have to pay deposit. 20%.
20%?
Yeah.
Okay. Questions? Any question on the finance bit? Yes. Let me come around this way.
Yeah, a quick question. So I realize that most of these properties are quoted in dollars.
Yeah.
Right. Me being here, do I have the option to pay in GBP?
Yeah.
That is one. And then 2, who determines the exchange rate? And if I'm coming in for a mortgage, do I get the same rate as people in Ghana, or they get different rates as compared to we in the diaspora?
Okay, so we will lend to you based on the source of repayment, like your income. So because your source of income is pound, we are going to give you in pounds. We can't give you in dollars. So that's number one. So that loan will be established in dollars. And we will establish...
In pounds or established in dollars?
In pounds.
Okay.
That's what I meant. And then we will have to have an outright negotiation with the vendor that the cross-reference for pound dollar is not that much, but it's established at one, it's one off. So instead of maybe $120,000, should we do 110,000 pounds? If it's agreed, that is what is done.
Any other question? Yes.
Hi. What about repayment periods, certainly for older potential mortgage holders? I mean, do you do up to 25 years, say, somebody approaching retirement?
So for now, we do up to 15. We do up to 15 years. That's But there's the opportunity to what you call if you get to a point where you want to reapply the same loan, you want to take it and extend it to another 10 years, we'll do that.
And what's your rate?
Okay. I don't like pricing conversation, but the outright, the standard, like I've seen what our vendors are saying here, starting from. So we also start from 11% for GBP. No, for now it's 11%. It can actually, depending on the risk assessment, where you buying the property, the kind of vendor, the arrangement we have with the vendors. There are some vendors we consider them as our partners, and we'll then do some negotiation and say, maybe if you're getting from such a vendor, because the vendor has negotiated on your behalf, it can be lower.
Do you do
but
variable
11
rates?
Is the standard.
Do you do variable rates, or is this a fixed rate over the term of the loan?
For the dollar or pound denominated loan, it's fixed.
Fixed.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Any questions? Any questions? This
I told
is
you
pretty
they
important.
have money. The questions are not coming for the finance person.
Yeah.
Mike, did you stay fixed for 15 years?
Yes, because that's in Ghana, we have the Ghana reference rate. So that makes it variable, because the moment it changes, then the rate will change. But for the pound denominated is the 11. We don't normally, unless something really happens to the pound rate significantly but it's fixed. For so far as I'm concerned now, it's fixed.
Fixed for 15 years?
Yes.
Good luck.
Wow.
So that's what
Next, we have a question here.
If you're not a Ghanaian national, but you're married to a Ghanaian national, could you do something like a joint mortgage or something like that?
Yeah, your ties you've established, yes, so we can do that.
So one of the things that can establish your ties is marriage.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, question? From the on-point madam herself.
Thank you, Pearl, for your presentation. You actually said something that I want to know more about. So we have people here who are not Ghanaian, who have no ties apart from, ancestral roots. You mentioned the heritage product. Is that something they could apply for? Because as far as I know to date, it's if you're not Ghanaian or don't have any Ghanaian, connection, the only option is to buy in cash. So interested to know what packages Access has to offer.
Thank you. So the heritage is a product we've designed. I can't really speak a lot about it because we're currently going through a BOG approval. But as a bank, we've established appetite to help, and it's just because of the year of return, and we've seen our country as a place where investment, especially real estate as an asset class, we can really work towards, and it's something that we are championing. So we have put an end-to-end product together. The transactional part of it is not much of a problem, but the property ownership part of it. And it's just because of the requirement that you need to be a Ghanaian to actually have some sort of account in Ghana. So it's something that we are going through with BOG. But once that is done, I will share the interest with you. But one of the critical process we put in is for people who don't have any ties in Ghana to buy properties in Ghana, with the property being your tie in the country. So that's what we are.
That's brilliant.
Yes,
Congratulations
yes.
to looking into that, because that's been a huge issue for us, for some of our clients. So we look forward to hearing the progress. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question. Apologies, I missed your bit the other part.
Hi, my name is Kobi Ofori, and I am with More Crepes. So we are private builders, and we build for private individuals on request. Now, one of the questions that I do get a lot is most of our clients, they self-fund themselves. So they ask a lot whether they can get mortgages to fund their individual projects. Is that something you guys do, or is that something you want to consider as well?
So like I said, yes. One, we check the land, we make sure everything. So the difference is that instead of having a developer, it's an individual who wants to. So once the land is secured in a location where we think there's viability, the environmental assessment and everything is done, yes, we will do that. Because eventually, it's the same individual who could have bought from a developer, just that he has secured. We won't buy the land per se for you, but at least buy the land and let us help you build it. Thank you.
Fantastic.